All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Test, 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 test. Check, check, test, test. Alrighty. Looks like we are live. Solid connection. So, okay. After all the confusion and all the the Steam issues, it appears that we are live. Hello, hello, hello. I feel kind of bad. I feel kind of bad that the Torpor games. I feel kind of bad that they excuse me, that they were having the issues. I can't watch the video again. As well done as it was, I cannot watch that video again. I've seen it like 4 times and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. So let's see how this works. So I've not done anything here. Apparently you're supposed to be able to continue, or just, it looks like you can actually just start a new guy. I was screwing around a little bit offline, just trying to help someone else figure out what the problem was. Thankfully helping them helped me out too, because that means that any problem that I would have run into, I didn't have to run into it and make it a really scuffed stream. It's not going to be a long stream today. I got probably about an hour, and then I have to do a virtual job interview. Hopefully that goes well. Hello, 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 hello. So, without much further ado, I guess we can just get right into it, because we are on a limited time budget here. Having had so much fun with the base game, though, you can be sure I'm going to be back. Alrighty, so you're supposed to be able to continue. So what if we just... I have not done too much screwing around here. I've been trying to figure out what the heck. I was trying to help someone else, as I was just saying. Trying to help someone else troubleshoot because they were having issues playing the game. A couple of patches fixed it, but I think the problem that they were running into, right? This is kind of a confusing point for a lot of people. If you click on the DLC, it doesn't do anything, right? It's just a thing there to let you know that you have it. I don't know if they plan on patching or fixing that later, but I think that's probably confusing a lot of people. So it looks like what you have to do is you either have to start a new game or you have to load an old game. So let's load the old Swordland final save. And then it'll give you the warning. Make sure you want to load, continue. And then boom. There it is. So I think that's the problem right there. The problem is that it's a little confusing for people, because a lot of people just pop in and they assume just click on the button. Click on the button and we're good to go. It's not a sequel, it's DLC. It's kind of a separate story that happens at the same time, I think. Or I don't know actually. I'm loading from a previous save, so we'll see. It would be pretty cool if the choices I made along the way changed the way this game plays. That'd be pretty cool. So, we are playing as Kingdom of Rizia. Semi-constitutional monarchy, 40 million people. State religion, Werhesm. Gas, gold, and wine. We are starting in 1950s. I believe that's basically the same era as Swordland. King Ramus Taurus has ascended to the throne. His reign begins under the geopolitical strife, contention between royal houses, and demands for the reclamation of lost lands. Bet the president has some riz. All right, well, let's go. Let's go. It's Rizian time. And then Riz is all over the place. Monarch, your reign and your abode, your scepter and the orb you hold, and e'en the ground on which you trod, the dust once you're cold. You opened your eyes to this realm. Becoming a king was never your choice. It was your birthright. It was your burden. It was your calling. All hail. It was your birthright, it was your burden, it was your calling. Well, I don't know if you can be called to be a king. Well, I mean, I guess technically you probably could. It was your burden? Ah. Why be so dour? It was your birthright. What's up, KK2? It was your birthright. From a young age, you knew you were no ordinary child. You were Romus Taurus, grandson of Queen Liza, ruler of all Rizia, son of Crown Prince Valero, the Duke of Valenquiris. For most of the year you lived with your father Valero and your mother Estella in a lavish palace atop the cliffs of Manquis. Each summer, though, you visited your mother's common-born family at their home by the Sill Harbor, stayed with the Queen at the royal residence in Port Drezon, went hunting with your father's brother Hugo in the forest of Brennus. Not harassing them this time? Oh, it's always harassment. It's always harassment. You could just be somewhere sitting in a vault underneath Antarctica and playing video games is harassment. So we can hang out with the commoners, our mother's common-born family, hang out with the Queen at the residence in Port Drezon, or we went hunting with my father's brother Hugo in the forest of Brennus. Hang out with the commoners? Are you mad? Stayed with the Queen at the royal residence in Port Drezon. Went hunting with your father's brother Hugo in the forests of Brennus. So we can be something of a hunter. We can be hang out with the Queen in the royal residence. I wonder if that gives a boost to diplomacy. Hang out with the Queen, see how all the diplomatical stuff goes on. The hunting, I feel like the hunting would be good for like making connections, possibly royal connections. Same with 2. Number one, I mean, it'd be good for getting some grounding on how the commoners think and behave. So hang out with Grandma. Hang out with Uncle Hugo. And go hunting. Or visit your mother's common-born family. Hang out with Mom's family. Ooh, that's a good one. It's not as clear as the character generation in the base game though. But I think this will probably give me a solid grounding in how commoners think and behave. Probably make me a bit weird for a noble though. Hang out with Grandma and go hunting with Uncle Hugo. It's a good... I think I might go with... Yeah, I think I might go with one. I kind of like all three, but... Let's go hang out with Mom's family. Your grandparents were fisher people of modest means, and staying with them helped you feel grounded. Every autumn, you returned home a little wiser. It felt good having caring relatives. When Queen Liza died, the whole country grieved, but the mourning could only last for so long. There was a new king to crown. You remember two things about King Valero's coronation. The whisper that Hugo, now the Duke of Valencus, was actually the rightful king, and the shouts of protesters outside the palace gates. Alone with your father after the ceremony, you asked him about the rumors. Asked him about the protests. Didn't mention either. War of Succession. Going on with the protests. Your father laughed and told you that some people had come to believe Rizia shouldn't be ruled by a monarch anymore. But of course, he assured you that they were wrong. You had your doubts. You believed him. I'm gonna do my work with Squid reading in the background ASMR. You believed him. Life in Port Drazen was less exciting than you expected. You were tutored privately and rarely had contact with non-royals. At the palace, the closest person to your age was Pavel, the groundskeeper's son, a quiet but friendly kid who knew about every plant in the palace gardens. You quickly became close friends, enjoyed bossing him around. Didn't have much to do with each other. Oh man, I can be a stereotypical noble. Quickly became close friends, enjoyed bossing him around, didn't have much to do with each other. So basically, no friends. Friend with a commoner. Or I enjoy bullying commoners. Well, I mean, I do come from a half commoner background, so let's become friends. When you came of age, your father invited you to start sitting in on royal council meetings. You decided that you would love to join, to go to university instead, to join the military instead. Enjoy the time with your parents. Let's go. The council members took you under their wing, catching you up on the issues of the day. One of their main concerns was Palace, a former part of Rizia that had long belonged to the Empire of Valgos. Now that the Empire had fallen, War Counselor General Thaddeus Azaro was launching a military campaign to take the newly independent region back. You thought it was a lost cause. Agreed that it was time to reconquer the territory. Didn't have an opinion either way. War were declared. Oh, why is this link not working? That's weird. It's not opening. Okay. Peninsula Rizia South, familiar part of the kingdom. That's part of our kingdom! Also Valgos? That's the communists!
Almost complete. Besteer bloed in een kwiddelsoensvrij.
As you continued to serve on the council, the campaign in Palace dragged on. It seemed like an easy victory until your northern neighbor Lesbia got involved, sending weapons and financial aid. Protests against the war sprouted up around the country. You asked your father to stop the bloodshed, begged him to crack down on the traitors, refrained from taking sides. So we can side with the protesters. Or we can side with the kingdom. I think I'll avoid taking sides here. You hoped it would all pass, but the fire had been lit. Your next council meeting was interrupted by the announcement that the Navy had mutinied. Bloody clashes between pro- and anti-monarchists were erupting across the country. The century of revolutions had reached Rizia at last. The head of Palace Security insisted you be driven to a safe house outside of Port Drayson. As you left city limits, though, an unmarked car swerved in front of you, blocking the road. A trio of masked men with guns jumped out, quickly overpowering your guards and forced you out of the vehicle. You complied with their demands. You tried to run away. you tried to fight them. Well, if they've got guns, unless I've got guns, it's not going to help. Run! Run! You ran for your life, but before you could get far, you felt a sharp pain in your leg and collapsed. As your captors caught up with you, you recognized one of their voices. Lucas Suzerain, Duke of Brennus and head of Rizia's Third Royal House. A hood went over your head. Then darkness. They held you captive for nearly a week. When rescue finally came, it was in the form of a man with a white, blue, and magenta flag on his fatigues. Wayland's flag. At the palace, you pieced together what had happened. In desperation, your father had pleaded for the aid of a neighboring country, Wayland, to neutralize the uprising. But their help came at a price. An agreement signed by both countries transferring ownership of the port of Zil and its neighboring region to Wayland for the next 25 years. You wondered how King Valero could have been so stupid. You thanked him for restoring order. You were just happy to be alive. The uprising had other consequences. The traitor Lucas Suzerain was executed, and his pregnant wife was sent into exile. As further punishment, Issa, in the capital city of Brennus and the Suzerain's ancestral home, was handed over to your family. Your uncle Hugo was sent to serve as its steward, and you were to take his place as reigning Duke of Valenquis. At your childhood home in Monquis, you focused on finding and punishing the remaining traitors to the throne. Largely ignored your duties and lived a life of leisure. Did your best to help your region rebuild. We can be a lazy noble, we can rebuild our area, or we can go after traitors. Interesting. Vengeance, eh? I think there'll be time for vengeance. Let's rebuild. Valenquis came to see you as a generous, capable leader. One day, the king came for an unannounced visit. He brought with him a pale-skinned young woman with striking blue eyes. Hesitantly, she introduced herself as Lena Livingston, the sister of Queen Beatrice of Rumburg, and your wife-to-be. Ah, betrothal. Well, it's a royal arrangement. King Valero told you he had no choice. With Wayland descending into civil war, Rizia needed a new ally. A partnership with the Kingdom of Rumburg, cemented with an arranged marriage, was in the best interest of both monarchies. Besides, he added, you would surely grow to love her. He was right. He was wrong. Let's have a loving relationship for once. You and Lena began having hours-long conversations about your royal upbringings, hopes, and dreams. By the time you lifted her veil, you knew it was true love. The years after your wedding and the birth of your daughter Vina were the happiest of your life. The only trouble was that your royal obligations sometimes got in the way of being a good husband and father. That being a husband and father distracted you from your royal obligations. That you couldn't stop yourself from having the occasional affair. So we can be a cheater, or we can be a distant husband who is called away by his duties too much, or neglect the nation because I'm too busy with my family. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's actually a solid, like, what is the worst choice here? Well, I sided with Dad on the invasion and whatnot, so I think I'm gonna go with being just a little too focused on making sure the nation runs properly. We're in love after all. It'll all work out, right? Love conquers all. That's how that works. With Rumburg's help, Rizia's economy bounced back to levels it hadn't seen since the glory days of Queen Lycia. Wealthy Rumburgians started moving to the cities. So did economic migrants from neighboring Morella and Derdia, and Wessex seeking asylum from the Civil War. You celebrated Rizia's new diversity. We're suspicious of these newcomers. Welcome the new arrivals, but we're secretly glad that few of them settled in your province. I don't know, after playing through the main campaign, I'm kind of suspicious of foreigners. Rizia for the Rizians. Many of the foreigners ended up in the province of Brennus, where a nationalist movement called Su Omina began, demanding that the king put Rizia above all. As Duke of Isa, your uncle Hugo turned a blind eye to Su Omnia's activities, while his teenage son Ricardus became a vocal supporter. Eventually, Ricardus became better known as Rico, approached you about speaking at one of the group's rallies. Monarchist movement? Oh no, it's a reformist movement. So he wants me to speak about how improper. How dare you ask me to do such a thing? You distance yourself from the organization and from Rico. Your uncle was displeased, but said nothing. You slowly realized that the uprising had broken something. Oh, it was a nationalist movement. I read it as a... Can I scroll back up? I can't. The And I'm in character generation, so I can't go back. Oh well, we're locked in now. I'm not a Rizian nationalist, I guess. You slowly realized that that the uprising had broken something in your father. He began neglecting his duties as he became increasingly preoccupied with threats both real and imaginary. Outside of the country, he gained a new nickname. Valero the Frail. You found yourself under more and more pressure to make up for your father's shortcomings. Lena was patient and understanding, one of the many things you loved about her. For her 10th birthday, Vina asked you to go on a sailing trip with the two of you. Can't neglect the daughter. In the middle of the Gulf of Valenkis, the weather turned unexpectedly stormy. When the captain tried to turn the boat around, it was hit by a breaking wave and cracked in half. The Coast Guard got you and your daughter on time, but by the time they pulled Lena out, she was barely breathing. They rushed her to the hospital. She died holding your hand. You were devastated. After the funeral, your mother, Estella, came to visit and found you hardly able to function. She promptly moved in to help you out with Vina. Hugo suggested you turn to Wericism, Rizia's official religion, to cope with your loss. In faith, you finally found solace. If anything, you became less of a believer. Meanwhile, the situation in the capital worsened. Rizian nationalists continued to protest the loss of Zil and the country's increasing diversity. Rumors spread that an anti-monarchist movement was beginning to grow once more. Your father called Hugo back to the capital to keep an eye on his council. You wondered what the country was coming to. You reasoned the king had brought his troubles on himself. You began to get suspicious as well. Blame Dad. Become paranoid. Or just kind of wonder what the hell's going on. Outsiders also took notice of the king's decline. One of them was Axel Reinhardt, the new ruler of the Grand Duchy of Palace. He sent you an invitation to visit him on 2 conditions. You were to go alone and without your father's knowledge. Ooh, but why? Ooh, 50-50. It was your first time in Palace since childhood. You were surprised at how modern everything seemed now. Duke Reinhardt welcomed you to his palace. He said he was hoping to re-establish relations with Brizia once you became king. You told him that it would only be possible once Palace rejoined Rizia, where it belonged. You were looking forward to putting the past behind you. Agreed that a thaw between Rizia and Palace could be lucrative on both sides. Refused to promise anything. Ooh. I think 3 is probably the safest answer. A thaw between us would be lucrative on both sides. Putting past behind us sounds like we're kind of recognizing their sovereignty, which I don't know if I want to recognize their sovereignty. They were part of Rizia, and we will reunite Rizia. Only possible once Palace rejoin Rizia where it belongs. And that's a little extreme. That's going to set things in motion. Refused to promise anything or agreed to the thaw. I'm not promising anything. The Duke accepted your answer. Despite his disappointment, he invited you to spend the next few days getting to know him and the duchy better. Afterwards, you told your father about your trip, lied to him about where you'd been. Let's tell Dad. The king was furious. He accused you of betrayal. He ordered you to tell him about your meeting with the Duke. You gave him every last detail. You stayed close with your father in the months that followed, though you were both too busy to see each other as often as you would have liked. As Vina grew into an intelligent, self-reliant young woman, your mother moved back to the capital. She called you one night, her voice shaking. The king was dying. He'd gone straight to bed after dinner. When your mother went to check on him later, she found him comatose in the bedroom. The doctor suspected a heart attack. Your father looked pale as a ghost. It took all his effort to speak. In a hoarse whisper, he warned you not to follow in his footsteps. Your reign would be a fresh start at the House Taurus, a new chance to take back the lands that were lost. He closed his eyes. Only after his funeral, gathered at the palace with your mother and daughter, did the realization begin to dawn on you. From the day you were born, your entire life had been leading to this moment, and now it was finally here. Bald. Ah, there we go. That looks. Yeah, I like the gold. Well, there we are. So yeah, this is just the prologue. We have a lot more game to go. Like I said, I got an interview in just over an hour, so I better go get ready. But thanks, everybody. Hope you're looking forward to more Suzerain. All right. Well, I'm not gonna like literally turn it off right now. I'm just saying we're gonna get to the next save point and then wrap it up. Interesting. We'll stay. We'll hold the status quo. Why not? We'll diversify. Foreign affairs strategy. Interventionism. Champions proactive military stance. Speedman fosters diplomacy with Wayland and courts the monarchy of Rumberg. Third wave veers towards regional alliances and overlay with Moria sidestepping dominant powers. So regional alliances, be diplomatic with Wayland and Rumberg, or go interventionist. Or start forming a coalition of lesser powers. Interesting. Serious choices in this game. It's making me think a lot on what do I actually want to do with this game. Military branch focus. Well, it is the 1950s. It's going to be all about air superiority from here on out, so... Well, I am now. The angelic-sounding voices of a boar's choir echoed through the great hall of Palace Resna. To most Rizians, this was the grandest room and the grandest building in the entire country. To me, it was just home. I remembered wandering between the mosaic-tiled columns as a bored teenager, goofing off with Pavel in the upper gallery as my father met with foreign dignitaries. And of course, this was where I had married Lena. I leaned forward in the Cilia Orica, a gold-plated wooden throne on which all monarchs of Risia were coronated. The hall before me was filled with nobles, politicians, business magnates, even movie stars. A television crew moved up and down the aisles, broadcasting the ceremony to the Rizian public for the first time. My mother was sitting in the front row next to Uncle Hugo. Tradition dictated that the absence of a king or queen consort, the seat next to me would be filled by the successor to the throne. Ina plucked a stray thread in her gown. "How are you feeling, Father?" "Ready for the next chapter. Honestly, a little nervous. My feelings are none of your business. Shh, stop fidgeting. The cameras are on us." My daughter smiled. "Me too. I wish Mother was the one sitting here, though." The final notes of the coronation hymn, "By his sword I live," rang out. An expectant silence filled the hall. It was broken by the sound of shuffling footsteps. The cameras followed Grand Wiseman Sal Ignatius as he walked slowly towards the central aisle, bearing a velvet cushion. He presented it in front of me. On it was the Taurus crown, a black onyx orb, and a scroll containing the words to the royal oath. Recite the oath, take the orb, look at the crown, look at Estella. I caught my mother's eye. She gave me a conspiratorial wink. I took the scroll off the cushion and read aloud from it. I hereby pledge myself in service to the great nation of Rizia and its people. I promise to guide my country with a steadfast hand, to uphold the laws of this land under Saint Werrick's watchful eye, to wield the sword of justice and the shield of mercy in equal measure. All this I shall do until the day I die. I lifted the orb off the cushion and ran my fingers across its smooth surface. It was inlaid with a trio of diamonds representing the 3 royal houses of Rizia, Taurus, Zaro, and Saison. I gazed at the Taurus crown forged when my family took the throne 150 years ago. It was made of pure gold, adorned with 2 twisting spires resembling bull's horns. May Saint Warwick fill you with his Holy Spirit on this day, as he did with your ancestors before you. With trembling hands, Grand Wiseman Ignatius lifted the crown off the cushion. I could spot a gray hair still clinging to its inner rim. My father's. May you keep the promises you have made before God and your people. The crown came down on my head. Its heaviness surprised me. By the divine power vested in me, I proclaim you sovereign king of Rizia. Arise, King Romus. I stood. The choir broke into On Shores of Gold, the Rizian national anthem. I decided to proceed without making a speech. Everyone in the crowd bowed their heads as Vina and I made our way down the aisle. I hope my limp wasn't visible on television viewers. I thought about my kidnapper's bullet and how close I had come to never seeing this day. I passed my cousin Rico in the second row. He kept his head down and didn't acknowledge me. As we kept walking, I recognized various other members of Rizia's 3 royal houses, as well as monarchs from distant kingdoms. The entire back row was reserved for the Rumbergian royal family and their entourage. I could feel my sister-in-law Beatrice's eyes on me. We reached the end of the hall, where a spiral staircase led to the palace's balcony. Come, Vina. Let's greet your future subjects. My daughter beamed and put her arm through mine. We walked up and the stairs until we came to a door. I stepped out onto the balcony. The sunlight was so dazzling I was almost blinded. When my eyes adjusted, I regarded the scene below me. Thousands and thousands of people were packed onto the palace grounds, some waving the Rizian flag, others the House Taurus banner. Just beyond them, the gates, the police easily held back a small pocket of protesters. I paid little attention to them. I was focused on the noise of the crowd, an overwhelming roar that gradually cohered into a single chant. Zeltenis Axa Regu Navus. All hail the new king. Okay, that was almost perfectly timed. Like I said, I have an interview to get to, so I gotta go get prepared. But yeah, we'll be back. Trust me. Also, I think the DLC is still on sale until like the 1st, so if you enjoyed Suzerain and you were thinking of picking this one up, seems like it's a solid choice. For now, I'll see y'all out there and take her easy. Whatever you do.